Hey folks, this is Tom Reed, the Migration Count Coordinator with the Jersey Audubon's Cape May Bird Observatory, and we're coming to you with our second update from the field for our Cape May Springwatch. We'll start with this pleasant sunrise, a rare sight recently. The weather has certainly been a big factor over the past couple weeks, and after a mild and dry start to April, we've been locked into a cool and wet pattern ever since. A number of days have featured rain and northerly or easterly winds, which tend to be a deterrent to most bird movement locally. The count was even suspended on April 13th when a particularly potent weather system brought wind gusts in excess of 80 miles per hour and caused considerable damage to trees and structures in the area. 2 additional days featured brief delays due to thunderstorms. When one considers that we only experienced 1 thunderstorm delay during the previous 4 springs and never lost an entire day to a storm system, the recent weather has been truly remarkable. Turning to birds, we'll start on the water with one of the project's primary species, northern gannet. Gannets are still on the move, but in numbers far reduced since our last update. As this photo depicts, we're also now seeing a much higher proportion of immatures, as most adults have now continued north from Cape May. This graphic from our data entry provider, Trek shows a difference in migration timing between adult gannets, depicted by the blue line, and immatures, depicted by the orange line. Adults come first and are far more prominent in March, with immatures becoming as numerous, if not more numerous, by about April 10th to April 15th. We're now solidly in the peak window for double-crested cormorant migration, with dozens to hundreds seen almost every day, regardless of what the weather is doing. As with northern gannet, we try to track the timing of migration between adults and immatures, with adults typically making up an overwhelming majority until the last few days of April. We'll see if that trend holds up in 2020. This chart from Trek clearly shows that the second half of April is prime time for cormorant movement. Our biggest single day total to date consisted of 6,239, counted on April 19th. Ibis are always a fan favorite at the Springwatch. Glossy Ibis have been a regular feature recently, and about 500 have been counted so far this season. We've also recorded 2 white-faced ibis, which, while still an exciting find, have become an increasingly regular visitor to our region in recent years. White-faced typically tag along with glossies, and that was the case with the singles that we noted on April 12th and April 22nd. The top bird in this photo is a white-faced ibis. Much like white-faced ibis, white ibis has also become far more expected, with a significant uptick in sightings over the last 3 to 5 years. Our first record this spring was documented April 14th, when 3 adults flew past the Springwatch. An additional adult was then noted on April 22nd. We'll be very interested to see just how much of a surge occurs with this species in spring 2020, and if this might just be the year that this southern species adds New Jersey to its breeding range. We'll round out the water birds with parasitic Jaeger. The season's first was noted April 10th, which is just 1 day behind our earliest on record at the Springwatch. Jaegers have been a near daily sight since, most often seen chasing Forster's terns or laughing gulls in pursuit of food, as these kleptoparasites tend to do. Parasitic Jaegers are typically most conspicuous here from about late April through middle of May. Focusing back on shore, April is often the best overall month for swallow migration locally, and tree swallows, which start moving through Cape May during early March, will continue migrating throughout the month of April. Here's a few moving past the watch on a recent sunny day. Later in the month, barn swallow serves as the primary species on many days. The biggest numbers we see here in spring often follow cold fronts, as was the case when a season-high 606 were counted on April 22nd. As with the previously shown tree swallow, many follow the dunes and beachfront, like the one pictured here. Here's another neat graphic from Trek which shows a difference in timing between tree swallows and barn swallows during March and April. We see a peak in early April for tree swallow, shown by the orange line, before barn swallow then peaks in late April, shown by the blue line. This makes sense, as tree swallow is a short-distance migrant which largely spends the winter in the southern United States and Mexico, while barn swallow is a long-distance migrant that spends the winter in Central and South America. Songbird migration has been insignificant on the whole lately, certainly a product of the wet and cool weather. But there's still been a few odds and ends, such as this savanna sparrow that dropped in on April 15th. A recent highlight in the songbird department was the blue-gray gnatcatcher flight that we witnessed on April 14th, when 226 were counted moving northwest over Cape May Point. Many were quite high and in flocks, like the group pictured here. It seems that the first half of April is the best time to see gnatcatcher migration locally. Based on our observations at Springwatch, it appears that the biggest numbers occur on mornings that follow nights with increasingly strong westerly winds, conditions that presumably push gnatcatchers migrating at night away from the coast to our south and out over the Atlantic Ocean. These birds then reorient toward Cape May. We'll end this update on, or perhaps more appropriately, in the water. Bottlenose dolphins continue to be a daily sight, with dozens present most days. We're also excited to report that our first humpback whales were seen on April 19th and April 23rd. A gray seal put in a brief appearance on April 18th, and this is one of the latest that we've recorded here in spring. All right, folks, well, thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed it. Special thanks again to the Borough of Cape May Point and to our collaborators, Judy and Larry Winnie, for their support of the project. Stay safe, stay well. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.